Hi, externs. I figured it would be easier for me to talk to the screen for a few minutes rather than type a bunch of stuff. I'm very tired of typing. Hi, I'm Jocelyn Pelagia, and if you recognize that last name at all, it could be because my daughter is a junior right now at Carleton. She's a SOAN major, and she's heading to Copenhagen for winter term. Anyhow, I will tell you a little bit about myself, talk just a tidge about community colleges. I don't want to make this too long. I've discovered I am well able to blather for a lot of minutes, and I'm going to try and rein in those impulses today. So I'm sitting here drinking my tea in a travel mug with no lid. Why? Am I going somewhere? No. This tells you about me. All the other mugs and glasses in the kitchen are dirty, and was too lazy to wash one. So I was like, the travel mug. Anyhow, what else do you need to know? Fan of a statement earring. But also, I went to Carleton 1985 to 89. And back when it used to be bands playing in Sales Hill every weekend, lots of weeknights, with kegs provided by the college, free beer, all the time, everywhere. So some things have changed on campus in addition to new buildings and things like that. Anyhow, I was an English major, and I had zero intention of being a teacher. I am now in my 30th year of college teaching, and at no point have I thought, I want to be a teacher. And I don't mean that in any negative way, but more just that to bring up the idea that life just takes you places sometimes, and you go where it leads you. So it's I am not an ambitious human being. I just wanted to make sure I had a life where I had choices and fun. And I feel every day like I've won the lottery when it comes to my professional life, because as it turns out, I love teaching. I particularly love teaching online. And I've been doing online teaching for almost 20 years now. I do have the occasional class face-to-face still. But I prefer online, and I actually think I'm better at online than face-to-face. So I was an English major, and then I was a media studies concentration. We didn't have minors then, so I was a concentration. So basically that was film, had a lot of film classes. And then I took a couple of years off. I lived up in Minneapolis, and I temped, and I worked as a nanny. And then I took a year and kind of drove around the United States and just visited people and stayed places. Then I realized if I ever wanted to make a living, I probably needed to get serious. So I applied to grad school. I grew up in Montana, and I loved the American West so much, and I knew that I really wanted to get back to the West. So I applied to the University of Idaho up in the Panhandle, and I earned a master's in teaching English as a second language, because I had this idea that I wanted to go live abroad and teach abroad. I figured, in the absence of anything else, I guess this is what I want to do. And I also had the option, starting that master's program, to maybe go on for a PhD, perhaps in linguistics or something. And I realized really quickly that although grad school was fascinating, and to be honest, way tougher than Carleton even had been, I realized that I didn't have that specific area of passion that I would want to explore if I went on for a doctorate. So I knew for me a master's would be enough. The thing is, as I was working on my master's, I also was a teaching assistant. I was a TA teaching composition. And so when I finished grad school, the practical experience I was able to put on my CV was that I was a comp teacher. And so at that point, life intervened, and I was in a relationship, and I wanted to get to Colorado, where my boyfriend was. And so I applied to teach at colleges all over Colorado, and the first place that contacted me was the University of Colorado in Colorado Springs, and they wanted me to teach writing full-time. So I ended up moving to Colorado Springs, and I was there for 3 years. And it was really, I enjoyed the teaching a great deal. The city was problematic for me. It's a very conservative city, and that didn't feel welcoming. I'll put it that way. So I ended up applying. I wanted to get back to Minnesota. I have family, and I had all my college friends, and I knew that I would have community if I came back to Minnesota. So I ended up applying to community colleges all over Minnesota. And the first one that called me for an interview and hired me was Riverland Community College, which is in Austin, Minnesota, which is south of Northfield. It's down by Iowa. And that was my entrance into the community college system. I received a 100% pay raise in moving from teaching at a four-year university to teaching in the community college system. Also, when I was teaching at the University of Colorado and University of Idaho, I had no benefits, no medical coverage, whereas I have great benefits. The Minnesota Community College contract is fantastic, and it is a tenured position. So I went through 3 years of, I had to be observed, I had to turn in a portfolio, be evaluated, all that kind of stuff. But in community college teaching, you don't have the pressure to publish or do research. And if you are someone who just enjoys the students and the teaching, then a community college is a great way to go, because I have a heavier teaching load than, for example, a Carleton professor. I have 5 courses a semester usually, although sometimes I get something called release credits for doing a different kind of work. For me, my release credits the last few years have come from, I serve as a mentor for the College in the Schools program. So I work with high school teachers around the region who are teaching college classes within their high schools for college credit. Some of you might have taken CITS classes if you are from Minnesota. But anyhow, so I mentor those teachers. I do site visits, I observe their classes, I review their teaching materials, work like that. And I actually really enjoy establishing those relationships with the high school teachers as well. And so anyhow, I had 5 years at Riverland Community College, and at that point I was married and baby Allegra, and we knew that if we could move to northern Minnesota, we really wanted to. So there was an opening at Lake Superior College, and in 2001, I got that job. So we've lived in Duluth now since 2001, and I love Lake Superior College. I mean, physically it's situated in it with a gorgeous overlook of the lake, but also I like that it's really an important part of Duluth, of this city. And we have students who are sometimes going for an AA, Associate of Arts, but we also have a lot of students who are in technical programs or just going for a diploma or even a certificate. We have a pilot program, we have a pilot aviation program, but we have a really strong allied health. So like our nursing program is huge. There's usually been a 2-year wait list to even get into the nursing program. And so we have like physical therapy assistant, we have phlebotomists, we have all those kinds of things in addition to students who are just coming to take 2 years of their generals, and then they can transfer to any university anywhere really. But if they transfer to a university where we have an articulation agreement, that means we've made sure our courses align with their freshman and sophomore year courses. And so the students could go to University of Wisconsin, Superior, they can go to any of the University of Minnesota institutions, and they just enter as a junior. So basically they're coming to us for the first 2 years because it saves them a lot of money, and then they can transfer and finish out their 4-year degree. Because of the fact that a community college is a 2-year institution, and it really is local and community-based, we draw a really diverse and interesting population. This is true of community colleges around the country. I mean, when we talk about diversity, we could mean a lot of things, right? So we have a diversity, for example, of age that you wouldn't see at a school like Carleton. I found a good summary of some statistics. I'm going to pull it up here now. Hang on. Okay, I'm just on a website here called Everfi, and it's actually a company that helps work on diversity issues. But they point out here that community colleges play a major role. 46% of all undergraduates in the U.S. are enrolled in community colleges. Significant. 41% of first-time freshmen attend community colleges. So then they kind of go through some diversity things. So more than half of community college students identify as a race or ethnicity that is other than white. And you can see kind of a breakdown here. I know up in Duluth we also have Fond du Lac Community College, which is about half an hour from Lake Superior Community College, and we get a lot of students from the tribe. So the two colleges do a good job of making sure that our Indigenous students up here on the North Shore have a good opportunity education. I think the ages are important when it comes to community colleges. I have a lot of students who are not only in their 20s, but a lot of students who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. A year ago, I had an 80-year-old in my creative nonfiction writing class, and she was great. So you can see that here it says 28% of college students nationwide are over the age of 30. We do have international students, so you can see that here. I think also important about community college students is, look at that, about a third of community college students are parents, and of those, more than half of them are single parents. This affects the amount of energy that they sometimes can bring to their classes. We also, at community colleges, do particularly well at providing resources for people who identify as having a disability, a lot of mental illness, a lot of physical or other kinds of impairments that might play a role in how a class needs to be offered or presented. And so I guess just, I wanted to make sure you know that, of course, every college campus has diversity, but what's happening in community colleges nationwide is something that where the education, sometimes it can be transformative, to be honest, because it sometimes is older people who are transitioning into a new career, and we do workforce development. And I also feel like we do really well at preparing students for college level work who don't come to us ready for college level work. So we do what used to be called remedial teaching, and now it's called developmental. So we have developmental classes. And definitely, community colleges are predicated on the idea that everyone deserves the opportunity for higher education. There's a debate to be had there whether or not we're doing everyone a favor by insisting on that, but at least we have open access. So anyone who wants to give it a try is welcome to come and give it a try. So let's stop that. So I really do believe that community colleges are important to higher education in the United States. And I'm hoping that during this externship, you have the opportunity to see how the education, particularly the online education, differs from, is the same as, or what you've experienced yourselves at Carleton. And a few years ago, I had 2 externs come, and this is when they came physically to campus and sat in on classes, and they spent the whole week. They met with the dean and all sorts of stuff. And their very diplomatic summary at the end of the externship was that Lake Superior College seemed like a really nice high school, which I thought was very funny. We do have quite a blend of students. So what we will do, we'll arrange this through email, is I'm going to have you all get embedded into my 5 online classes. Now, it will actually just look like 3 online classes to you, because I have a section of writing for social media, which is a class I created about 8 years ago. And then I have a class of world literature. And then I have 3 sections combined into one course shell of college composition 2, which is advanced writing or research writing. So they're working with MLA format. And so that's actually like one really big class, but technically it's 3 sections. So that's my 5 classes. And I'll get you embedded in there so that you can be fantastic lurkers, you bunch of creeps. And you can poke around, look at the discussions. You won't be able to see my grading and my feedback to the students, which is kind of unfortunate, but privacy matters. So you'll be able to see, how I've put assignments out there. We never, in these online classes, we never have a synchronous component. And so it's all asynchronous, which works really well because most students either work a full-time job in addition to college classes, or some of them work 2 or 3 jobs. I mean, I have a student this semester, she manages a nightclub up here. So she goes to work at like 9 p.m. and works till, 4 or 5 in the morning. And so, she then does her homework around that kind of schedule. So asynchronous is what works best for this type of online learning. At Lake Superior College during pandemic times right now, we do have hybrid and high flex classes. So, we have lots of options, but what you'll see through me are all online classes. These are not classes that I suddenly created when the pandemic hit in March. There's no pivot here. These are classes the way I've taught them for years. Mind you, classes always need revision. I love teaching because it's a very dynamic profession. 30 years in, I still feel like I'm figuring it out. So I haven't had to have a career where I'm bored. It's different every semester. And if something's stressing you or bothers you, you know what? Just wait 8 weeks. It'll be over. And then you get a reset. So what I'm going to ask from you, and we'll have a Zoom meeting where we're all kind of can talk and everything, and I'll have a list, but I'm going to ask you all if you can help me make my teaching better. Every semester I see ways where I'm like, oh, those instructions didn't work. Oh, I kind of hate this activity, but I keep doing it because I just don't have time. This semester I have 135 students, although currently I'm down to maybe 120 who are still there. But it's so much grading, so many students. If anything, that's the downside, is that it's like it can be a little bit of a grind with the grading. But sometimes I just don't have the extra energy to come up with new explanations, new activities. And so I'm going to ask you, I've made a list that we'll talk about when we Zoom. I've made a list of, like, in this class, I feel like I could use this, 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 and this. Sometimes it's like I could use a 3-minute video, for example, explaining, it doesn't have to be 3 minutes, by the way, a short video explaining the history of colonization. Because in the world literature class, it's all post-colonial literature. So I want to explain to students, because we cannot presume that they know this. I want to explain to them, colonization across the globe and its after effects, because the works we read in the class were written by the natives whose lives were upended thanks to colonization. So I could use, for example, that kind of video. I'd love that. Years ago, I made a video of me explaining colonization. Like, this was like 7 years ago. I'm still using it. I just have, I'm trying to make all these other videos these days. And so I haven't had time to redo it. And it's like kind of a janky video, really. It's kind of like I was using an old camera, and then like the sunlight comes in during the video and my face gets obscured, and then the camera battery dies halfway through, but forbid that I would start over. Oh no. So I'm like, this is like a sad little video I've been using. I need something better. I'd like to be better. I have a pretty good list of different things that I need help with. I want your ideas too, because you'll have a perspective as students, but as particularly smart students. And so I'm going to ask you, to pick and choose. And so we'll talk over ideas of what you can do during the externship. I am happy to have you embedded in my online classes and to work with you from anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks. It could differ person to person. That's fine. I kind of want this to be a make your own adventure experience for you. Number one, I know that perhaps because there weren't very many externships this year that were available, thank you, COVID, you were kind of like, I want something, I need something. Oh, well, there's this community college thing. I mean, I'm very realistic, and I know some of you applied to this because, why not? Let's get something. I'm all about you having a thing to put on your resume from this terrible year, 2020, when so many opportunities have dried up. And so let's get you some sort of experience that you can put on your resume. Ideally, let's get you some sort of experience where you have some practice at creating, the documents that would be used in an online class as teaching materials, the videos that are instructional in nature. So I'm going to let you kind of consider your own needs and skills and talents, and kind of, if you'd be like, no, I actually really like editing videos, so I'd be good at that. Or no, I have really good ideas for these 4 things you listed, Jocelyn. I'll do these. So we'll kind of do a discussion like who wants to do what. If you only want to do one thing, fine, like I'm here for you, you're here for me, but I know that you have other things going on in your life. So you'll bring what you're able to bring. I'll give what I'm able to give. It's kind of a crazy time of the semester for me, to be honest, when this externship's happening. But I figure you're there we're all going to be a team together, right? So I got to stop talking. This has been way too long. Congratulations to you if you've made it this far. Nice to meet you. And I'll send out a little bit more information about getting you. We need to get you logins for our LMS, our learning management system. We use D2L Brightspace, so they're going to have to generate some login stuff for you. So we'll do that through email and figure it out. But anyhow, hi. Nice to meet you. You call me Jocelyn. Yeah, we'll see you soon.